I hope that I have shown you um, what loose balloons look like, right? Now I want to talk a little, and I hope that I've also shown you what integration looks like and how the various strategies of integrating quotations can be achieved. So now I want to talk a little bit more specifically about integration of direct quotations. Anytime you integrate, and this is an easy way to kind of remember the formula, quote unquote, of integrating a direct quotation. It has four necessary parts: an introductory phrase with attribution, the small nugget taken word for word from the text. And sometimes I would say that an introductory phrase with attribution is optional because if you look at something, well, I don't know. This is kind of an attributive introductory phrase. So no, I think it is kind of important that I would say that you want to keep in mind um, this idea of phrases of attribution, but they don't necessarily have to be like, according to so and so says. You can use attributive phrases by talking about she spends her time, or there are various ways of introducing a quote other than according to so and so, right? Okay. So the small nugget taken word for word from the text, an in-text citation, right? And then a sentence of explanation. And this is the part that I want you guys to make sure that you pay attention to. Anytime you use a direct quotation, you have to take the time to explain your reading of it, its significance, etc., before you move on to the next idea or the next quote. And I want to kind of look at this really quickly. Here, right, is my introductory phrase. Here are my, various nuggets. And then here I have my sentence of explanation. So these expectations of what the world is like make her a perfect victim for someone like Arnold Friend. He is the external embodiment of the teenage ideal celebrated in popular songs. Connie's skewed sense of reality makes it impossible for her to see that Arnold is a threat and solidifies her untimely fate. So here I have my quote, right? And here are my sentences of explanation. You've got to take the time to do that because that, in a nutshell, is your analysis. Okay, so the way you can kind of remember these four necessary parts is to think about a slice of pie, right? Integrating your quotes are no different than giving or providing a point, an illustration, and an explanation. Your point is always going to be some sort of topic sentence that indicates the main idea of the paragraph. And it usually relates to your thesis. So I want you guys to think about quote integration as paragraph development. In other words, you want to make sure that you have your first sentence is the point that you're trying to make, right? You don't want to start a quote with a direct quotation. So you want to have some sort of topic sentence or topic sentences that kind of indicate the point that you're trying to make. Then you can illustrate that point with the text. It can be a combination of summary, paraphrase, and direct quotation, right? It's use all three of those to kind of help you use the points from the text because if you look at my example that we were just looking at, it is a combination of paraphrase and direct quotation. So let's see here. And then I want to talk about the explanation. This is where you kind of connect the point to the quote. Connect the P to the I because you can't have a good delicious piece of pie without the last letter. Otherwise, it's some weird number, right? Okay, so An explanation is an analysis of that quote in relation to the larger idea or your so what. How does the quote that you've chosen prove your point, so to speak? Right? You've got to take the time to explain your reading of the text. What does that text or what does that quote mean in relation to the point that you're trying to make? And for that reason, you can never end a paragraph with a quote or a paraphrase because you haven't taken the time to explain its significance. So here is an example of what I mean by kind of a quote integration, so to speak. And it's in the format of a paragraph. And I don't want to spend too much time reading this out to you guys, but here I have my topic sentence that Arnold is what Connie is not: experienced, clever, and has evil intentions. And this I did not write. Another student in a former student in the same class that you are in wrote this paragraph, but I thought it was okay, so I'm going to use it as an example. And has evil intentions, and he uses this skill set in opposition with Connie to get her out of her house and in the car with him. Yet for every opposing quality, there is another similarity to match it. Oates subtly draws parallels between Connie and Arnold throughout the story. And I have some beef with this because I think that she's making some good points, but she's not explaining why. Oates draws these parallels, and I think that this probably should have been a better topic sentence. But either way, I think that this right here, these parallels is really kind of interesting. She says every choice of his physical presentation is calculated, from the way he dresses to the way he talks. He bases these choices on what the youth of the moment were like. In the same way that Connie presents herself based on her own ideas of her environment. The clearest parallel made by Oates can be seen when Connie's mother inquires about a wild girl of Connie's age, and Connie says, "Oh, her, that dope," to distract her from her own wildness. In the same fashion, Arnold says to Connie of his friend Ellie, "He's just a creep. He's a dope, right?" Arnold does this to distract from the reality that he himself is a creep and has the same malicious intentions as the one he calls a dope. Both Connie and Arnold hide who they really are with their physical facades, and their realities are shown in these little moments. And that I think is a really strong point, and I think she does a good job using the quotes from the text to prove that point. Because look, she's taken kind of just these nuggets and she's summarized and paraphrased to substitute the rest of what she needs to explain, if that makes any kind of sense. But she also takes the time to explain the points that she's trying to make through her analysis in that paragraph. So that's kind of what I'm looking for you guys to do, both in this week's discussion board and in your literary analysis. So take that for what you will. Please, I urge you guys to let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or if there's anything that I can do to help you better understand direct quotation integration. And the more you guys do this, the more sophisticated and the more second nature it will become. So don't feel faint of heart. Just remember, I don't want any loose balloons floating off and killing birds. Ground them in your own writing and make sure you show a connection between your words and the author's words in trying to develop your ideas about the text. So that's all I have for you guys for now. Please go back and refresh yourself on paraphrasing if you want, but there are also some good handouts that I have, or not handouts, but there's a checklist for direct quotations underneath this lecture, so make sure you pay attention to that. Again, let me know if you have any questions, and happy integrating.